Hey, what's going on? Trying to get in this thing this morning with you guys. I don't know what happened to my camera. It has gone somewhere else. Give me a second to get what happened to my camera for real. Get that off there. Okay. Now let's see if we can redo this thing. There we are. There we are. All right, man. So we're in this thing this morning. Forgive me for the snafu. But welcome to the GM. I am your guy Boulanger. And this morning, just like every morning or every time we get in here and make content, we're talking ball, right? Specifically, Baltimore Ravens, AFC North, AFC, right? And if something major happens throughout the rest of the NFL, we absolutely will talk about that also. So, man, whether you catch this in the record or you jump in here live at some point, man, you are appreciated. Okay. If you made any commentary on yesterday's video after we closed the chat, I have not been able to get to that comment section, but I promise I will, and I will respond. So thank you guys for just plugging in and tapping in with us. What will be happening going forward? Probably starting, let's say, next week. I will be taking every live that we do and I will be breaking it down into shorter versions so that you don't have to jump into the live, so to speak, to get the content and or hit the major points. And so those will be coming in shorts and or short videos, depending on how long that segment is. Just doing some housekeeping before we really jump into our conversation this morning. Let me turn my mic up a little bit. Okay. And so, man, welcome, man. Uh, super glad you guys could plug in with me this morning, and we're going to be talking about Derrick Henry's contract extension, and of course, we are still on the Destination Santa Clara conversation, man. It's a conversation we are going to have throughout the remainder of the off season into the preseason training camp into the preseason and then on into the regular season. And with that in mind, the bigger part of our conversation will be about the Baltimore Ravens schedule. So let's get into it, man. So of course we all heard yesterday evening. I kind of saw it late. I was going to jump in here and talk about it, but I do a lot of stuff. I try to manage an orchard. I try to run a business, and I try to make content for the Ravens. And so sometimes I just don't have the time or opportunity to really just jump in here and um and get you guys in a live with instant reaction. And so and then I was going to come in here last night and talk about the Baltimore Ravens schedule, but I figured going live last night and then coming in here and going live this morning at 8:45, it would kind of be redundant. And I'm sure that you guys were already tapped into other content creators who were going over the Baltimore Ravens schedule. So here we are. Let's get into it. So Derrick Henry signs a new contract with the Baltimore Ravens, or a contract extension, 2 years, $30 million. $25 million of that money is guaranteed. And it brings him up to the third highest paid running back in the league. First, of course, you have Saquon Barkley. Following him up, you have Christian McCaffrey tapping in at 19 million, and then you have Derrick Henry coming in at 15 million APY. And so I haven't seen the context of this new contract. I don't know if it's a 2-year extension, which will be 25-26 this season, and then the 26-27 season being a free agent, and the 27 off season, or if it's a 2-year extension, which is a 3-year deal, meaning this year is what it was, and then 26 and 27 is the extension. But the way the way I've read it and or heard it is that it's a 2-year extension, which includes this year and next year, free agent 2027. Um, Sorry about those notifications. My work device is over in the corner, and so it kind of just does what it wants to do sometimes. But nevertheless, I think that means that Derrick Henry will retire a Raven, as he should. He probably should have been a Raven from the beginning, right? The Baltimore Ravens had a chance in that particular draft that he was drafted in to take him. It's amazing that he was a second round pick after how he dominated the college ranks. But nevertheless, he is great and has been great for the majority of his career, and I expect him to at least be in that 1,400-yard range. I do not expect him to duplicate a 1,900-yard season, but I do expect him to uh, be good. I do. And so, what does this contract mean for the Baltimore Ravens? I guess that's the kind of the analytical context of what we're talking about is what does this contract mean? Well, I think that this contract is kind of a Super Bowl window raising for at least 2 seasons. And we'll go into depth with that on Saturday. Big conversation on Saturday. On Saturday, we're probably going to be live on Saturday for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. My goal is to drop the link so some of you guys who want to can tap into the conversation live. But I think that's what that means. You know, linking up with Derrick Henry for the next 2 seasons is a raising of that Super Bowl window. It forms one of the best backfield duos between Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. And then you got some nice running mates with Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell. So there is an element of a thunder lightning context, a smash and dash context. And I didn't know how soon this deal would get done. I know that there had been some mutual interest to get an extension done all the way back from February. And so here we are in May. Contract gets done. Now, I don't know what the financial implications will be on the other guys who have to get paid. Specifically offensively, you got Linderbaum, who will be a free agent at the end of the season. You got Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, Charlie Kolar, who are free agents. Daniel Falele is a free agent. And that's part of the conversation for Saturday. But as of right now, backfield is intact. Lamar Jackson's in house. And with those two running this offense, we do have a chance to compete for a championship. Also, I think that it gives Lamar Jackson, I don't want to use the term security blanket, but it gives him an equal in the backfield, especially when it comes to running the ball. You know, for all of his career, for the most part, with the exception of last season, I believe he was the number one rusher for the Baltimore Ravens. Well, let me change that. I don't think in 2018 he was, but I'm pretty sure every season that was not cut short by injury, he has been the Baltimore Ravens leading rusher, going over 1,000 yards, I think at least twice. And of course, eclipsing 900 yards last season. And in truth, it was probably an easy 900 yards. It was probably the easiest rushing season to total those kind of yards that Lamar Jackson has had in his career. And I don't see either one, Derrick Henry or Lamar Jackson, eclipsing those numbers from last year, 1,900 plus for Henry and 900 plus for Lamar Jackson. But I think that again, it gives him an equal. Um, yeah, Don Royal. I like that. I like that. I'm picking out. I'm looking at the schedule, picking out some games myself to kind of see where I want to fit in as well. No, appreciate you for tapping in this morning. And so I think that, man, this is a all in type of season. Um, and I think it's quote unquote an all in 2 seasons. What I mean is 25, 26, 26, 27. I think that is our Super Bowl window. I think if we don't capture a chip the next seasons, I think I'll window into that in the Saturday conversation. I don't want to give away all of the nuggets for this weekend, but I think that this does help. Um, a 31-year-old running back, I definitely think he has a lot left in the tank. And really, the only guy that I can compare Derrick Henry to modern day, right? In a modern day context, I'm not talking about in the 80s, I'm not talking about in the 1990s. I'm talking about in a modern day, a guy who was doing it at a high level late into his career is Frank Gore. Frank Gore was good for a long time, even after he turned 30. And that's what I'm seeing from Derrick Henry, even at a higher level than Frank Gore did. Now, let me tell you the truth. I'm not comparing Derrick Henry to Frank Gore, right? They're different talents, they have a different run style. I'm just talking about the longevity with which Frank Gore played with, right? And the productivity that Frank Gore played with. Um, and so, what I would like to see from the Baltimore Ravens and Derrick Henry this season is I would like to see them divide up the workload in the backfield. I did not see a time where Derrick Henry looked to be ran down. I did not see a time where Derrick Henry seemed to be sluggish or lethargic. I did not see a time last season where he was unmotivated. So that when I say so when I'm speaking of sharing the workload is because this schedule is grueling, right? We're gonna, sometimes you can look at a schedule and say, okay, man, we should win that game, right? And we're getting ready to get into that. But when you look at this schedule for this season, we already knew who the um, competition was, but now we know how it's lined up, and it's brutal. And so I have not looked at anybody's analysis of the schedule. And I did that on purpose because I specifically wanted to just look at it and talk about it live with you guys and just get a firsthand reaction. So let's get into this schedule, man, as we transition from the Derrick Henry news. So the Baltimore Ravens, week number 1, take on the Buffalo Bills. Okay. If you want to call it a revenge match, if you want to call it a premier matchup, call it whatever you want. But I'm just going to simply call it the first game of the season. And I don't think necessarily it's one of those matchups that we're really is really going to be pivotal for this season. I don't think, I mean, when I say pivotal, I don't think it'll change the season no matter how this game comes out, right? But I just think it's good on good, right? Lamar Jackson versus Buffalo, Josh Allen versus Baltimore Ravens. We've seen these dudes. We know they know what we're about. We know what they're about. I don't think there'll be any surprises. I don't think there'll be any tricks up the sleeve, so to speak. And so I think it'll just be good on good. And then we'll have to play our best. They'll have to play their best. And then we'll see how things shake out. But, we typically play well in the regular season against big time matchups. And so I think that the Baltimore Ravens will fare well. We won't get into win and losses just yet. Let's go through the whole schedule and then we'll kind of get into games that I foresee winning, games I don't foresee winning. But we start off with a heavy hitter, an AFC championship competitor from last season. And I certainly believe an AFC championship contender for this season. And so the winner or loser of this game could create a deficit for seeding in the playoffs, even from game one, right? So let's move to game two, um, or excuse me, week two. And in week two, we go with the in division rival, the Cleveland Browns. And in truth, man, no matter what we think about the Cleveland Browns, they always come to play, right? They make some bad decisions, they make some good decisions, but no matter who they field, right? They always seem to bring a high level of competition, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. Cleveland does have some questions about who's going to play quarterback and all those kind of things, and certainly they'll work those things out between now and game time, right? But with having a full quarterback quandary, two rookie quarterbacks, one of which is Shador Sanders, traded for Kenny Pickett, and then you got the vet Joe Flacco. Somebody is not going to make this team. I don't see them going with four quarterbacks, but nevertheless, that's not our business. That's their business. But again, it's going to be high level competition, right? And we know that we're going to have to come to play when we take on the Browns in week number two. I'm not even going to assess home game or away game. I'm just simply assessing the competition, right? So Buffalo heavy hitter from week one, solid competition in week two, a familiar foe. So can't be any letdowns, right? Can't be underestimating the Browns. When we go down to week three, oh my gosh, another heavy hitter, Detroit Lions, right? And so the Detroit Lions are a team that's stacked offensively. You got a solid quarterback in Jared Goff. They have good wide receivers, Jameson Williams, I think that's his name, and then also St. Brown. They have a they have a great tight end in Laporta. They have a good offensive line, and so they're gonna bring real competition against our defense. But then I believe their best defensive player probably still is Aiden Hutchinson. He missed some time last season with an injury, but he definitely will be back healthy. And they've added some good talent defensively, and so this is gonna be a game that we're gonna have to play, right? This is gonna be a game that's gonna be hotly contested. I didn't check to see where this game is, but I do think this may be a primetime game. I think this may be a Monday Night Football game. Forgive me if that is incorrect, but man, 3 weeks in a row, good to great competition. Heavy hitter week one, heavy hitter week three. Another team in Detroit who should be an NFC type of contender. A team that kind of took a step back, just like we did last season with the year before in in the NFC Championship. Okay, thank you, Don Royal. It is in Baltimore and big time competition, and so maybe we can lean into that home field advantage. And but we're gonna have to come to play. And this is why I said earlier this week in the derailment. Right, right. I do agree with that. We're gonna have to come to play, and that's why I said earlier this week that things that derailed us last season, like discipline or being undisciplined and execution, uh, it can't be that way this year because the competition is even at a higher level, a premium level, well above what it was last season. Let's get down to week number 4. And look at this. Another heavy hitter, the Kansas City Chiefs. Man, the competition, man, doesn't stop. There is no drop off. This isn't even thus far a conversation of any given Sunday, meaning that you could lose on any Sunday, right? This is real competition 4 weeks straight, right? A contender in Buffalo, a contender in Detroit, and now you have a team that has been a perennial AFC Championship contender, a Super Bowl contender every season. They were in the Super Bowl last season. They're definitely going to feel like they have something to prove, and so here we are facing the Kansas City Chiefs in week 4. Okay. And so if we take the first quarter of the season thus far, right, this is going to tell a story about who we are. And I'm not saying we have to go 4-0. I'm not saying we I'm not saying we need to go 3-1. Um, Um, I'm just simply saying that with this level of competition, right? Good quarterbacking, with the exception of Cleveland, right? We're playing good quarterbacks. We're playing good offenses. We're going to play solid defenses. This is going to tell a story 1 quarter into the season. So another heavy hitter, Kansas City Chiefs, right? And we all know as Ravens fans that we've had our issues facing off against the Chiefs. Let me be clear. A win against the Chiefs in 2025 in week 4 means nothing other than we have the ability to compete and beat this team, right? It does not, to me, indicate any kind of playoff implications at all. Let's go down to week number 5, right? Look at this. You can't make it up. You can't mess up. The Houston Texans, another team who was in the playoffs from last season, a division winner from last season. And here we have them in week 4. uh, a young quarterback who probably in year 3 is going to have what you call a bounce back season. And it's not that he had a terrible season, but he did take a step back from year 1. No, and that team has that team had some injuries. Hey, what's going on, B James? Glad to see you in here. And I do think the Derrick Henry deal was a fair deal for sure. But but you know, when we think about Houston, the young CJ Stroud, his weaponry is going to be better this season. I think that they made a good attempt to rebuild the offensive line. They traded away their left tackle and Laramie Tunsil to create some cap space and get some draft capital. And so I think that's going to be the linchpin for the Houston Texans this season, is what their offensive line actually can do, because I think that was their downfall, and or that was their stumbling block last season, was that offensive line. Um, and so nevertheless, we don't know what that's going to look like. I just know that the competition in week 4 facing the Houston Texans is still not a drop off. We're still facing heavy hitters, basically 5 out of 5 weeks. Again, you can question the Cleveland Browns, but they always bring it when they face off against the division. So that's the Houston Texans in week 5. Let's go to week number 6. All right. And who do we have in week number 6? The Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams have had a lot of turnover with their mainstays, their franchise players. You know, Aaron Donald retired a off season ago, so they played without him last season. But they had 2 young rookie studs who balled out last season. Uh, I don't remember I know one is Fisk, and I can't remember the other's name, but I do remember watching them play. They were college teammates, and they dominated in the trenches. And so it's going to be a real test for our offensive line for sure. Um, a more changeover that they had is they moved on from Cooper Kupp, who now I think is in Seattle. So, you know, that should be, interesting to see what he does in Seattle. But what did they do? Right on time, they replaced Cooper Kupp with who? Devontae Adams, who at this point may be an upgrade over what Cooper Cup was. So now they're gonna come into this game, barring any type of injury, with basically what should be a high powered offense led by Matthew Stafford, with the weapons on the perimeter of Puka, and then also Devontae Adams. So again, not another drop off. Solid defense, solid trench play, both offensively and defensively. So it's another game that is going to be a grudge match. It's not going to be a game where we're just going to step on the field and look like we looked 2 years ago when we bust ahead in 2023-2024 season. I think this is going to be more of a competitive matchup, and we're gonna have to play, right? It can't be any of those games thus far, 6 out of 6, where we can have letdowns. And it doesn't mean we have to play perfect, because there is no perfect football, because you're gonna have penalties, you're gonna have turnovers at times, but it can't look anything like we looked last season with just the repeated self-inflicted wounds, because all of the competition thus far could spell a loss. All right. Let's see. We're going down to week number 7. And when we get to week 7, wait a minute. I don't mess my schedule up. Week 7 looks like it's the bye week. Yeah. Looks like week 7 is the bye week. Hold on, my slide is gone away. Let me check. Let me check and see. Week 6. Yeah, looks like week 7 is going to be the bye week. I think they did us a little dirty this year on the scheduling of the bye week. Somebody correct me if you're in the chat if I'm incorrect that the week 7 is the bye week, but that's what it looks like from how I got it laid out. Uh, but I think they did us a little bit dirty, right? Because the last couple of seasons we had late in the season bye weeks, which has been beneficial for us. But if the bye week happens well before, well, right before the halfway point of the season, then the last basically 9 games of the season, there is no breaks, there is no rest. And so there is no time to mend, there is no time to regroup, reset. And so we're just going to have to grind it out, man. So this season, man, is going to be one that is difficult for sure. Week number 8, we have the Chicago Bears, right? And we're going to be playing the second year quarterback in Caleb Williams. And so, he's not a dude that turns the ball over. That's something he prided himself on last season. The Chicago Bears spent a lot of capital and investment into their offensive line. They've made an attempt to rebuild a defense and make it more stable. And so, this may be one of those games you can say maybe a little bit of light work. And when I say light work, there's no disrespect there. But out of the first 6 games, this game seems to lean into a possibility that this is a team that we should beat. We should be better than the Chicago Bears from top to bottom. We should be better on the field. We should be better in the ranks of coaching. In fact, they have a brand new head coach. And so he's going to be learning on the job. Caleb Williams is going to be learning on the job with a new install of an offense, so on and so forth. And so this is a team we should be able to take advantage of and come out with a victory. Yet and still, we're going to have to play. We can't beat ourselves with mistakes. And I think, again, solid competition, though, from the Chicago Bears in week number 8. All right, let's scroll down. And now we're in week number 9. So basically, man, at this point, we are crossing over the halfway mark. And we're going to be facing off against the Miami Dolphins in Miami. Okay. I think this should be another game that we should just be better, right? We should be better than our competition, roster wise, execution wise, coaching wise. We should just be the better team. Now, they do have some explosiveness offensively, barring any type of injury. Uh, Tua is an accurate quarterback, especially if he can stay on his feet, stay healthy. Um, you got Tyreek Hill, still fast, still dynamic and playmaking. You got Jalen Waddle, who is also super fast, playmaker, and so they're still going to be dangerous offensively. They have a improving offensive line. Now, defensively, I'm not 100% sure of. I know they lost some major pieces over the last couple of seasons. Um, Christian Wilkerson, uh, um, Christian Wilkerson. Um, they let go. There's talks about trading Jalen Ramsey. They know of who was their starting safety from last season. Anyway, he moved on. Really good safety. So I think they're rebuilding this defense, and so I just believe that we should be able to take advantage of their vulnerabilities. I think that if we come in warm weather, we should be able to handle our business and get out of here with a win. Again, I'm not predicting wins and losses just yet, but I think the Miami game should be, or the Miami team should be a team that we should be able to take advantage of. And so so Chicago and then Miami should give us two games that we have a clear advantage in. All right. All right, so let's go down to week number 10. We have the Minnesota Vikings, okay? And we understand that the Minnesota Vikings have had some turnover at quarterback. I believe JJ McCarthy is slated to be healthy. I believe he is going to be the starter coming into the 2025 season after Sam Darnold led them to the playoffs last season. Really good record, really good production from Sam Darnold, and he's moved on. Now he's playing in Seattle. So basically, this will be JJ McCarthy's rookie season. Now, what is Minnesota bringing to the table for this game? Barring any kind of unforeseen injuries and things like that, if the roster is the roster, they're going to bring a solid defense. They play with a high level of intensity. They play with a little bit of ruggedness. Excuse me. And so I think it's going to be high competition for the Baltimore Ravens. Offensively, the Minnesota Vikings, again, we don't know what the rookie JJ McCarthy is going to be, but we understand who he has out on the perimeter. You have Jefferson, top two, top three wide receiver in the league, and then you have a really good number two in Addison. I believe I pronounced his name correctly. And so again, it's going to be a game that we have to play, right? Uh, thus far, thus far, out of the first 10 games of next season's schedule, there's only two teams that you don't have a high level of fear for. Now, does that mean we can't be beating those games against Chicago and Miami? Certainly not. But those are two games I don't have a high level of fear or concern for. The other eight, there is going to be high level competition for sure. No disrespect to the Miami Dolphins and or the Chicago Bears. Let's go down to week number 12. No. We're in week 11 now. And here we have the Cleveland Browns again. Here's what's interesting, right? We're going to play Cleveland twice, and we're going to be done with them by week 11. But we have not seen the Bengals pop up on our schedule and or the Pittsburgh Steelers pop up on our schedule. I wonder why that is. I wonder what the purpose was in putting 4 games against the division rivals within the last. That's pretty interesting to me. I don't think that's unintentional. I think there's a level of when the schedule makers make these schedules. I do not think it's just randomly selected. I don't think a team is put to a kind of a compute a computation to where it just spits out a schedule. I think these things are done, especially for your high level teams. I think they're done with the level of intent. Nevertheless, by this time, The Cleveland Browns probably have figured out what they're going to be offensively. They're going to figure out the quarterback that they're going with. They're going to figure out the run game because they did have, I think they drafted Juggins out of Ohio State. And so they're going to know exactly what they are, right? But no matter what they realize, the thing we realize in Baltimore is that they're going to bring a high level of competition. And so we can expect to play ball here. But I think also um, the Baltimore Ravens will have already, um, gone through the trade deadline. The Baltimore Ravens will already have mitigated any type of injuries, meaning guys out, guys in. And so I think at this point, Cleveland will just be a bump in the road. No disrespect. I'm not disrespecting them, but you guys know by the time we get to week 8 and 9, we found our groove. And so, barring any kind of unforeseen incidents, right, this should be a game we should be able to take advantage of the Cleveland Browns' flaws. Again, they're going to play high level competition, but I think we should be able to exert some dominance over the Cleveland Browns in that second game. All right, let's move down to week number 12. Okay. All right, let's roll. Come on. There we go. All right. When we get to week 12, we're going to be facing off against the New York Jets. Um, the Jets sometimes have been considered the laughing stock, specifically of the AFC East, but sometimes of the entire AFC. Um, they've been trying to find a long-term answer at quarterback, and they've gone through many over the last few seasons, and they are on another new quarterback in Justin Fields coming into the 2025 season. And so I don't know what this team is going to be. I know because the offense was so, I know that the offense was so, okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. What's going on, KBZ? Um, I do know that um, the New York Jets have really, really good players defensively, but that offense was so trash last season that it couldn't keep the defense off the field. So they just kind of got worn down, suffered some injuries, and they were not playing at the level of their caliber of players. Um, by this time in the season, I think the Jets would have already had a record that says we're in this thing to the end, meaning we have the potential to make the playoffs, or they will already have realized we don't have a real shot at the playoffs, and they'll start making some business decisions preparing for the draft. I know that sounds bad, but week 12 is so late in a season that sometimes teams will start making business decisions if the playoffs are not in their grasp. Uh, Again, I think it's still going to be a team, specifically on defense, that we're going to have to fight, right? We're going to have to fight against because they do have some high level players, Williams and Sauce Gardner, and they have a really good cornerback. They've made some attempts to rebuild that interior defense, so I think it's going to be a game that we still have to play. This far, we are how many weeks? 12 weeks in, three-fourths of the way through the season, or almost three-fourths of the way through the season. And I've still only identified 3 games. And I'm not saying that we're not better than these teams, based on how we're constructed, but I've only identified 3 games where the Baltimore Ravens should have a clear advantage. All of them are going to be tough, but man, this is a murderer's row of a schedule this season. Let's keep rolling. And now we're going to week 13. All right. And this is the first time we play the Bengals. As I said, hold on one second. And take a drink. As I said earlier, I think it was strategic that they put the Bengals and Steelers games within the last 4, or within the last 6 or 7 of the season, which means There is no time off. There is no weeks off because it's going to be a divisional fight all the way to the end. And I certainly think that we're up for it. But this is a game, man, where you're going to face off against a high-powered offense led by Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and the rest of the crew. Um, I think that the Bengals have decided that they're just going to throw the ball and see if you can outscore them. And which is, hey, maybe that works for them. I definitely think it worked when they went to the Super Bowl several seasons ago, right? And and oh yeah, it is on Thanksgiving night, which will be considered primetime football. And so we'll be done ate our dinner, hung out with the fam, and now we can turn on the tube and check out the game. Um, it's a short week. It's a short both teams, and so it's going to be super interesting to see what both teams are looking like when we match up. Third divisional game for the Baltimore Ravens. I do not know what the Bengals schedule looks like. I don't know how it's laid out, but I know they face off against the same teams that we face off against. And so again, always against the Bengals, especially last year, there was two shootouts, right? Came down to the wire. In fact, that one game, the Cincinnati Bengals were dominating us the entire game until we got things together in that third quarter and then pulled out the victory. And then in like fashion, in week 14, we're going to face off against the Pittsburgh Steelers, another division rival. The good thing is we will be coming off a little bit of extra rest, having played the Bengals on Thanksgiving night. It'll give us, that Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, Monday off, and then get back to work on Tuesday, basically. Um, we don't know who the Pittsburgh quarterback is going to be. We know right now they have Mason Rudolph signed. They have, I think his name is Will Howard. They have him signed. Is it going to be one of them or will it be Aaron Rodgers, right? I think the Pittsburgh Steelers end up with Aaron Rodgers. That's what I really think, unless they pull off some kind of trade or something unforeseen. I'm not really scared of their quarterback at this point. Um, and also, trading away George Pickens makes me less afraid of their offense. Again, DK Metcalf is still a stud, still fast, still big, still can do a lot of things. But trading away George Pickens doesn't give him an adequate number two. But we all know that the one thing Pittsburgh can do is draft and develop wide receivers. But again, it's still going to be top-notch competition because the one thing they're going to bring to the field, barring any type of injury, is a high-level defense. You're still going to have to play JJ Watt, not JJ, TJ Watt. You're still going to have to play the newly drafted Derrick Harmon. You're still going to have to play Patrick Queen and the linebacking crew. And you're still going to, and now they had a new addition in Darius Slay. You still got Nika Fitzpatrick on the back end. And Joey Porter Jr. So, hey, so no matter what Pittsburgh Steelers offense looks like, they still always bring it. In fact, they bust our head many times without a franchise level quarterback. So we already know what it's going to be when we face off against the Steelers. So again, more high level competition. All right, let's roll down. Come on, roll. All right. And then we got the Bengals again. So that's what I mean. This scheduling made no sense to me, right? As far as how they lined up our divisional matchups. Why line up the Bengals, Steelers, and then the Bengals again? But I guess it is what it is. We don't make the schedule. We just have to play it. This will be a game, no tricks, no schemes. That's going to be unforeseen. There's going to be nothing up a sleeve. There's going to be no play that we haven't seen, no tape we haven't seen. It's just going to be good on good and a test of wheels, right? Will the Bengals be able to be high scoring against our defense, or will our defense be able to stand up and do their thing against the Bengals? What will our offense look like, right? We understand that the Bengals are kind of rebuilding that offense. They put all of their money into the defensive side. Excuse me. They put all of the money into the offensive side of the ball, and so that defense they're trying to just kind of restructure, regroup, and rebuild quickly with young talent. And the last high paid guy on that defense is going to be Trey Hendrickson, who has said he ain't playing unless he gets a new contract or trade. So we'll see how that plays out. But again, they know us, we know them. Everybody's just gonna have the ball, right? All right. And then we go down here to week 16. We're almost done. And you got the Patriots. Okay. Now, this is the first game in a while after going through this schedule where you could say we have a clear advantage, right? Drake May, I like his game. I like what he can do. This is what I would consider a trap game. This is the type of game where the Baltimore Ravens could go in overconfident. This is the type of game where the Baltimore Ravens could look past the New England Patriots and get tripped up, right? Drake May has shown a high level of talent and ability. He's more athletic than than people give him credit for, and they're trying to establish some weapons for him. I don't think they're going to be a great offense this season. I don't think they're going to be a great defense this season, but they are building with this young talent base. It could be a trap game, right? But again, we'll get more into depth with these things come our Saturday conversation, right? But it's a game that I'm going to say that we should win. Okay, it's the first time I've said that in the whole journey of this schedule. Week 17, Green Bay Packers. All right. Another playoff team from last season, high level competition. This team is full of young talent, um, young wide receivers, a young quarterback, a growing and developing offensive line. They have really good players along that defensive interior. Um, and so it's going to be a game where, again, it's going to be a test of wheels, right? It's not a team we can overlook. I know they consistently have some injuries. So I think it's going to be, who's healthy and things of that nature, but it will be a team that we have to compete against from start to finish. I do know that kind of the controversial news coming out of Green Bay with some consistency is Jair Alexander's contract or his future in Green Bay. And everything that I've heard, he has no future in Green Bay. So I would love to see what happens between now and June 1st. I would love to see the Baltimore Ravens take a chance and just wait and see if he gets released, because I would love to see the Ravens try to scoop him up in free agency after he's released. So it could kind of be a get back game. I think if anybody scoops him up, it will be the Ravens. If the Green Bay Packers let him go. Nevertheless, Green Bay Packers, Week 17, high-level competition. And of course, the last game of the season is a divisional game, and it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. The end of the season schedule looks very similar to what it was in 23-24, if I'm remembering correctly, where we faced off against the Bengals and Steelers in those last games. And this game is going to be dependent upon if the Pittsburgh Steelers are still in it, right? I don't see them trotting out their heavy hitters defensively if they're not in it, if they have nothing to play for. Nobody wants to end the season with a reckless injury for a game that is not leading to the playoffs. High-level competition, fight to the finish. And, man, this schedule, boy, oh boy, oh boy. When you take our schedule into full consideration, it's the hardest schedule. I don't care what the rankings say. If the Baltimore Ravens don't have a ranking of the number one most difficult schedule in the NFL, that rating system is broken. Because when you look at who we're actually playing in review, you open up with Buffalo and then you have Cleveland, and then you have Detroit, and then you have Kansas City. That's your first 4 weeks. And then, you have some other high level competition. And when you look at like the teams that made the playoffs last season, we play all of them. I believe we played all the teams that made the playoffs, with the exception of the Philadelphia Eagles and the Commanders, and Tampa Bay, because we don't play the NFC South. But from the AFC, we play the Buffalo Bills, we play the Kansas City Chiefs, and I know this is the norm for a team that wins their division. But we play the Bills, we play the Chiefs, we play the Texans, right? And then beyond that, we play the Steelers. Um, we played the Bengals, which were a fringe playoff team. They didn't make it, but they were right there on the edge. So that's 6 games against playoff level competition from last season, and that's just talking about um, the AFC. When we jump to the NFC, we play uh, the Minnesota Vikings. We play the Philadelphia. Excuse me. We played the come on, Belanger. Think. Uh, we play the Green Bay Packers, um, and we play the Rams. So that's 9 of the 17 games against high level playoff competition from last season. And then there were some teams who were fringe, right there on the cusp. And so, man, this schedule, man, is not to be played with. I don't know. I haven't checked out the other division winners. I probably will try and do that between now and Saturday. We won't be live tomorrow, so I'll try and spend some time doing that between now and Saturday, so we can have a deeper conversation about um, how the schedule lays out for everybody else. I'm gonna pay some close attention to not just who they're playing, but also the position of that competition. When they're actually being played. But it looks very, very strategic on how the Baltimore Ravens and how that schedule was laid out. We that uh, understood and knew that the Buffalo Bills would be probably the first game of the season, just as a playoff rematch. Um, uh, we knew that Kansas City was going to be on the schedule already, just based on what we did last season, and we knew that Houston was going to be on the schedule for sure. But man, this schedule is brutal, and it's not going to be a situation that we can come in overestimating anybody. It's not a situation where we can start believing in our own hype, and it's really the type of schedule where Derrick Henry is going to be more integral in this season, even than he was last season. Um, Last season we had some teams that had bad defenses. Last year we had some teams that were suffering some major injuries. But this year, if everybody's healthy and the competition is the competition, these teams that we're facing off with this year, there is really no bad defenses, other than maybe the Bengals, maybe the Patriots, but that's 3 out of 17. Teams have good offenses and good defenses, so we're going to have to compete and compete and compete and compete. And so, man, our depth I think will be tested, which is going to be a part of Saturday's conversation. Uh, it's a big time schedule. It's a big time schedule, um, and it does have me concerned. You see, it has me concerned simply because um, if the other high end competitors don't face off against the high level competition that we face off against, and they probably don't, then that's going to lean into uh, our wins and losses being exponentially more important, right? I think in the division, the Bengals have an advantage over the Ravens because they do play the same competition, but they're playing a third place schedule versus the first place schedule that we face off it. So they're not playing the Bengals, excuse me. So they're not playing the Chiefs, they're not playing the Texans, and they're not playing the Bills. Well, I mean, I think they have to play the Bills because we play the entire AFC East. but they're not playing Houston or Kansas City. So that it is somewhat of an advantage. Same thing for Pittsburgh. So, man, it's super, super important, man, that we handle our business in the off season. It's super, super important that we get our discipline and execution down packed. And it's super important that our coaching is at a high level. So that's what I got for you guys today, man. Thank you guys for tapping in with us on the GM. Um, and again, we won't be live tomorrow. There will be some content produced, even though it won't be in the live. The next time we live will be Saturday morning at 9 a.m. sharp, unless I'm traveling on Saturday, and you guys will get a heads up on the time and things of that nature. But I'm your guy Boulanger.